On this episode of Travels with Bill, we're in Gimli, Manitoba, but things are a little wet. Now, we aren't here to see the town today, we're here to see what happens when the wind blows and the water goes where maybe it shouldn't. Today there's a fairly strong wind. It's coming from the east, blowing towards the west. That's causing water in the lake to pile up in the harbor in Gimli. That's causing some flooding here. This should all be dry. The water would normally be several inches below the top of that cement. Let's go take a look at the Gimli Seawall gallery. Just for a second, though, we've actually come to look at water. A different day, though. We'll have to look at all of those pictures. They're amazing. See how it's wet here? Well, where's that water coming from? The answer, of course, has a lot to do with the waves and the wind. Now, normally when it rains, the water would run down the drain and into the lake. Life would be good. But that's not what's happening today. You see, the water's actually coming back up, and it's doing it in timing with the waves, because every time a wave comes in at just the right angle to hit the pipe that goes out under the seawall, it's actually pushing the water back up in. Sometimes it's just a little bit like we saw there, but then it can get to be quite intense too, and a whole lot of water can come out. It's all about exactly how the wave hits it and how strong it is, plus of course the fact the whole lake has kind of bulged up on this side because of the wind. Here's a different drain to show it to you a little bit better. This one, as the water goes back in, that next wave's already coming. You can see the air bubbling back out. There comes the air, and then the actual water gets here. Well, there wasn't much that time, but it'll get more spectacular. It keeps trying to drain, of course, but the waves keep making the water come back in, and it's making a bit of a mess here. It won't hurt anything. This whole wall is designed to do stuff like this. The whole point of the seawall is, if it's even worse than it is today, to break those waves and save the boats in the harbor. I've been here on days where it's so bad the waves are blowing right over top of the seawall. Well, today it's nothing like that, so it's a great day to look around. Now, the Gimli frogs are one of the favorites of kids, and normally the frogs would be having their water going. It would come off the edge of the circle, down the drain, and into the lake. That's not what's happening either, because the lake's so high that water has no place to go. So it's coming out of the frogs, and then it's running down the pathway here, and then, well, through the grass, and trying to find another drain, but well, it isn't working so well either. In fact, if you watch really close, it's not just the water from the frogs, the water's actually coming back up these drains because of the surge in the lake, and it's just pushing it into this whole big area here. Well, there's where the water could go, except it's full too. Here at Gimli Harbor, you can see someone parked here before the water came in. They're going to get wet feet going back unless they have some rubber boots. There's lots of commercial fishing here, lots of sailboats, lots of everything goes on. Gimli's an amazing place in the summer. If you've never been here, someplace you have to visit. We'll spend a lot more time here on different episodes looking around. Today is just about the water, so you can see what happens on the days you're maybe not here. You've probably visited during the summer. If you haven't yet, well, do make plans to attend. Thousands of people come up here all summer long for the beach, but also the shopping, the resorts. It's an amazing spot, and we're less than an hour from Winnipeg, so everybody in Winnipeg, of course, can make their way on up to Gimli and enjoy this bit of paradise. Well, we're looking here at some more flooding. That should be a walking trail, and I guess it is if you've got the rubber boots on today. It's not particularly deep, but it's deep enough to show you exactly what's happening. Normally the lake would be out a piece here, and, well, that's what the power of the wind can do. Every time you hear those wind warnings for the lakes, now you kind of have some idea what they're talking about when they talk about high water levels. We're going to walk along the beach, and we're just a ways back from the seawall. We're actually right along the Lakeview Resort here. I wanted to show you the waves because these certainly are not the biggest waves in the world. It's just a sustained wind that's causing the water to push up. The waves here get much bigger than this. See that wall? I've seen them go over that, because it can get really stormy at times. Today, though, it's just kind of medium, so you can see what's happening. Now, one of the neat things here is the sand, because it's very porous. So as the water comes up over the sand, you're going to see one of my favorite bits, and that is that the water is actually disappearing. Look at it. See how it's just going away there? The wave comes in, covers the sand with water, and then it just soaks away so you don't see it anymore. If you look really close, there's actually something else interesting happening too. I'll show you a close-up of it in a second. There's bubbles that happen. There goes the water. It just disappears through the sand and back out into the lake. With the sand, of course, there's a lot of air. So if you watch close and the water comes in, see the air bubbles actually bubbling up through the sand? Isn't that the coolest thing? It looks like the water's boiling. What's really happening is the water's flooding over so quickly that the air is escaping up through the sand as the water goes down, The end result, those bubbles that look like it's really hot water. It's actually pretty cold today. This is September long weekend 2022, so the water's not icy cold. It's not hot anymore like the middle of July. You know I'm kind of a sucker for science like this, right? So this is the part of it that the science teachers are really after, seeing how this works, because it's not something you can see every single day. There it goes, boiling up again. Oh, that is so cool. If you walk in the sand, it's actually really soft. I wouldn't say quicksand-like, but certainly it's got a lot of ability for you to sink down in it because it's so waterlogged with all this water coming in. There goes the boiling again. That's probably the best shot of it to show you how the air bubbles up and the water just simply disappears away from it. Okay, I admit, I watched it for like an hour. A couple other things about Gimli before we go, though. We're on the seawall here, just kind of looking out at the lake. I want to show you how there's rocks on the edge of it, then you get the actual wall. This is where further down all those images are. And then, of course, if you've been to Gimli, you've seen the big boat, too, the Lake Winnipeg research boat. We will, at some point, tell you all about that, too, do a whole episode about the boat, because there's such a story to tell there. You know, there's a story to tell about a lot of things in Gimli, and before we go, I want to show you just a few seconds of the downtown. Some community garden on the go here. Across the street is the Lakeview Resort. Wonderful place to stay, too. Say hi to Michael if you end up booking a room there when you're in town. He would love to know that you came because you saw his resort on Travels with Bill. Beautiful place. The CJ 107 studios are located right in it, which is why you hear us talk about being on the boardwalk. Well, that does it for this episode of Travels with Bill. We'll see you next time. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a thing as we travel across Canada.